The only thing scary about this movie is how long it took to come out. Nevertheless, it's an October release, so it gets a quickie review in the middle of October. I am the Kaiju Kami, and this is my quickie review of James Bond, No Time to Die. This video is brought to you by the Kaiju Kami store, Creativity by Design LLC.com/shop. You can buy all kinds of cool Kaiju Kami merchandise. We've got t-shirts, notebooks, pens, water bottles, and a poster. Check it out, and thank you for your business. Now back to the review. No Time to Die is the fifth and final installment of Daneil Craig's James Bond series, which kicked off 15 years ago with Casino Royale. Casino Royale was the first Bond movie I had ever seen, and it made me a fan of the franchise that, like, a few weeks later, we went out and I started watching the older movies. I ended up buying them on DVD, then I bought them on Blu-ray, and then I bought them again on Blu-ray when they had a big box set come out, and I'm going to end up buying them once again when they eventually come out in 4K. That's how much of a fan I am of the series. I've got the books from Ian Fleming. I've read half of them. Anyway, this is supposed to be about No Time to Die, not about the James Bond franchise. No Time to Die continues right where Spectre left off, with James Bond and his girlfriend at the end of that movie moving on with their lives when some crap happens with Spectre and they end up having to break up. And then we have a 5-year time jump to signify the time jump in real time, which was pretty neat. I will say, as the final Bond movie to feature Daneil Craig, it was a really damn good finale. It's not perfect by any means. There are a lot of flaws. The villains kind of suck. Blofeld himself is pretty damn awful, just as bad as he was in the last movie. The biggest tragedy here is that I have seen Christoph Waltz in a lot of movies, so I can tell when he is really enjoying his character, really having a good time, and then when he's just half-assing his role as if he's just there for a paycheck or doesn't actually want to do it. He doesn't believe in the character. And that's sadly how his Blofeld has been. In both movies, you can tell he doesn't care about this character. He doesn't like what he's doing. He's awful. It's terrible that we have a Blofeld actor that doesn't care about being Blofeld. Not that it's going to matter after this series, because this franchise is done, so we're going to start a brand new Bond timeline after it. And I'm okay with that. It's pretty nice to have a Bond series that has a beginning, middle, and end. I've got to give MGM credit for that, because I never thought they'd have the balls to do it. Continuing my discussion about the villains, Rami Malek's villain pretty much sucks. He's barely in the movie, and when he's in the movie, he doesn't do anything to make him stand out from other villains. He's not as bad as Dominic Green, not as bad as Blofeld. He is nowhere near the depths of both Silva and Le Chiffre from the other movies, which is a shame. In fact, he might be one of the most lackluster Bond main villains of the entire franchise. I guess there's only a few I would say would be worse, like the guys from Die Another Day and Drax from Moonraker. He's just not that good of a villain, and you don't care about him. Another negative is, if you're a fan of Metal Gear Solid and have played Metal Gear Solid, the original, this movie's plot is pretty much the plot from that game. You'll see what I'm talking about if you've gone and seen it, especially towards the end when the whole movie takes place on an island. You'll know what I mean. Daneil Craig just excels all over the place in this one. He is phenomenal. You could tell he's like, okay, this is my last movie of the franchise, so I'm going to go out with a bang. I'm going to make it all well worth it. I'm going to give you the finest performance I have ever given in this entire franchise. He does it with such finesse. The thing is, he's not the only character in this movie you really want to root for. He's just one of many characters. M, Moneypenny, and Q all have wonderful scenes. The chemistry between them all continues to shine. I love it. However, the biggest chemistry is between Daneil Craig and the lady that plays the new 007, Nomi. I want a spin-off on Nomi. Nomi was freaking awesome. Every time James Bond and Nomi were on screen together, they were eating their scenery like as if they were battling each other for who's gonna steal the scene, because there was all this friction going on that was well worth it. It worked because the characters were clearly supposed to be that way. The actors did an amazing job with it. I want a spin-off on Nomi. That's right. I don't care about all this wokeness that people were proclaiming this movie is. I want a spin-off on Nomi. She was freaking awesome. Like with minimum spoilers, there's a scene when they're like, yeah, this is gonna happen. She's like, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean by that? No, seriously, what do you mean? It was awesome. They played off each other very well. I really digged what they did, and I cannot wait to see what they do with this timeline going forward. Again, I want a Nomi spin-off. I want to see more of her. Speaking of strong female characters, the girl from Knives Out plays a character named Paloma who has one scene. She's kind of like a Felix type character who shows up, does her job, and then goes away. She was also magnificent for only being in maybe 10-15 minutes of the movie. She also had some really good chemistry with Daneil Craig, which makes sense since she's from Knives Out, so they've played off each other before. And they go into this thing, and she's like all nervous and everything, and then some other stuff happens, and you're like, damn, that girl is awesome. So yeah, let's have a Nomi and Paloma spin-off series where they work off each other like Bond and Felix do. Come on, MGM, give it to us. I really want to see that movie. You want to have a female spy movie? Well, here you go. There's no need to do like a Jane Bond when you have great spy characters right here that are female, when all you're going to do with Jane Bond is it's saying that you don't have any confidence in your lead actress or a female-driven movie, and you have to resort to names to sell it. So do it right, give Nomi and Paloma their own spin-off movie series. For those of you that like gadgets, you do get kind of one that's got some really mind-blowing effects to it. I am impressed with how they shot the action sequence in this one. You could follow every piece of action as if you were playing it through a video game. Like there's one sequence of Bond going through this stairwell and the camera's following him like over the shoulder, and you're like, wow, I feel like I could pick up a controller and just continue playing this as if this was like a Resident Evil remake game. And it continues on, you can feel everything going on. The whole camera sequence is done as if it's in one shot. Maybe it is done in one shot. I know they pulled that in Spectre, which was phenomenal there in their opening sequence. So it was great to see it done again here. The car chase scenes are really intense. You really feel like, oh my God, I feel like I could have been in that car. There's a lot of atmosphere. The only thing I will say is I wanted a ski chase sequence. The only thing this franchise has failed at for Daneil Craig is giving him a really kick-ass ski chase scene. We got it in Dalton's era. We got it in Moore's era. We kind of got it in Connery's era, even though it was Lazenby. And I believe we had it with Brosnan, so not having it with Daneil Craig was a crime. Although, maybe because they did use it so many times, they felt they didn't want to. Still, I would have loved to have seen a ski chase scene with Daneil Craig. The soundtrack in this movie was, hands down, the best score since On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'm not saying other Bond movie scores were bad. I'm just saying this was the best since On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which has some of my favorite tracks from the Bond movie franchise. As for the opening theme song, Billie Eilish did a decent job. Her vocals are great. The music itself is very laid back and low-key. Not as bad as Spectre, but this one actually fits the tone of the movie when you watch the movie, so there's that. Spectre's opening song from Sam Smith, I think, is the most atrocious Bond music ever. Almost as bad as that from Octopussy and Moonraker and the like. This one, it works. Billie Eilish is fine. It just lacks energy is all. Nothing horrible. The Casino Royale theme, You Know My Name, is still the best Bond theme from Craig's era. Overall, I highly enjoyed this movie. I can't say it's perfect, as there are areas that it could have been improved upon, but I am going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Why an 8 when I'm praising it so much? Because like I said, there are areas that it does need some improvement in. As for ranking it with the other Daneil Craig movies, I will say number 5 would be Quantum of Solace, number 4 is Spectre, number 3 is this one, No Time to Die, number 2 is Skyfall, and the first is still the best, Casino Royale. What did you think of No Time to Die? What have you thought of this James Bond franchise? What's your favorite James Bond movie? In fact, have you read any of the original novels? Let me know in the comments. Click like, subscribe, the bell notification, whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support me. You can support me on Patreon at KaijuNoKami, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, KaijuNoKami, my website, creativitybydesignllc.com, and the Kaiju no Kami store is now open for business. creativitybydesignllc.com/shop. Until next time, bye.